Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tales of TIC podcast. Today we welcome Bram, and Bram is a leading commercial director for GMP Plus with over 20 years experience with working with some of the world's largest TIC companies such as Control Union, Veritas, Kiwa, especially within the agriculture, feed and food sector. Please join us today to learn more about Bram's journey and an insight into the sales leader's mind. Bram, it's great to have you on.
Thanks, Marcus. Nice to be here as well. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Well, just to kind of go straight into it, just to give the audience a little bit of an introduction, if we could kind of go back in time, would you be able to give us a bit of an understanding about your life and the choices that got you here today?
Oh, yeah, sure, definitely. I grew up in a six children family. I was the second of a twin. Father had an engineering company in the construction sector, and my mom, she always took care of us. And but anyway, my parents, they were always encouraging us, including myself, to achieve something by, let's say, by working hard, so to say, to at least to do our best. Which I did, I think. And an extra dimension was, okay, I was the second of a twin. My twin brother was always doing better at school than me. He had better marks, and in fact, to be at the same level, I always had to work a bit harder. But never mind, I got there, and great. And now you see, now I have my children of my own. They're grown up, graduated, working for big international companies, and I even have some grandchildren as well. So that's nice. But okay, let's say looking back into the past, I think especially the attitude of my father, not really supportive for me and my siblings, and also let's say being the second of a twin, really shaped me, and of course other things, to the person I'm nowadays are of am. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. It's quite wild. I do kind of relate with a lot of things. You always kind of see that with, growing up as the youngest, you always got your family where you're always comparing.
Yeah.
It's always a constant growth. It's like they've just moved a year forward, they've just skilled up, and then okay, right, I've got to do those extra two steps. So, no,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. Well, you've had quite the career. So obviously, you've been with some of the world's leading tech companies such as Control Union, Bureau Veritas, and Kiwa. What really kind of inspired you to pursue a career in this industry, especially within the agriculture and feed and food area?
Yeah, yeah. Oh let's say I always wanted to work in the let's say in the food industry. In fact, I tried several times to get a job at the well-known Heineken brewery, but after two denials from their side, let's say I had to find something else. But anyway, what triggered me anyway in the let's say back in the 90s was really the let's say some food scandals, and food fraud. Well, there are things with BSE, dioxin, contamination with aflatoxin, and those kind of things. So anyway, I thought, okay, if it affects me, it probably always also affects the entire world. So what could I do about this? So that's always something why I thought, okay, I want to have something. I want to have an important role in trying to prevent food fraud and all kind of let's say cases in which is related to food or feed safety. So let's say eventually I got a job at a British laboratory organization, Alcontrol at that time. So where I made my first
Yes.
steps into the TIC business, and let's say first in environmental testing, but later on, thanks to one of my colleagues, the technical manager, so he dragged me, in fact, into the food development of a food lab. So I joined him, and I was really inspired about that. So later on, I joined another laboratory, TLR in Rotterdam, being part of tech company Control Union, where I really got the ability or the possibilities to work on a brand new feed food lab. and let's say that was really nice period. And then later on, I joined Bureau Veritas and Kiwa, but then in various roles. But let's say more or less, I can say, looking back, I always contributed to food or feed safety, and that's something I'm really proud of.
Excellent. It really kind of shows and kind of the progression that you kind of see in your career as well. I think, you really kind of stick out in this market as well, which, that personal brand is absolutely amazing. And so, just kind of looking back at your roles before in the past, were there any particular challenges or obstacles that you faced during your career, and how did you
Oh,
overcome
yeah.
those challenges?
Oh yeah. Well, let's say together with one of my colleagues at the time in the small feed lab in Rotterdam, TLR. Well, we are really facing okay. Well, okay, guys from higher management, they say, okay, this is your toy. Good luck with it. But okay, we were not, let's say. Able to invest anything, so we had to be creative. And okay, we want to transform this old style laboratory into a very modern laboratory with multi-component analysis, those kind of stuff. So not a classical feed stuff analysis. So, but okay, no investment. So that made us creative by ordering appliances for testing, but then by a leasing contract. So not buying them, but leasing them, which gave us the opportunity to put it on our balance sheet as cost, or in our P&L as cost, but not as an investment on our on our balance sheet. So okay, eventually the higher management, they found out what we did and they were a bit angry. But okay, we at that time already we show a very positive cash flow, so they were not mourning anymore, and they said, okay, well, please, next time if you want to invest something, please come to us. We will facilitate you. So so that's they're really nice. So sometimes, yeah, you are being halted by higher management or by other people, but then you need to be creative in order to achieve your goals.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I think it's really quite interesting because obviously you've really kind of emerged as a sales leader within a lot of these businesses as well. And, you have to always kind of react to, a very reactive market. Obviously, new laws, new regulations, no week can really kind of be the same. No year can be the same.
Yeah,
What
true.
were kind of the key qualities and skills that you have, which really you feel makes a successful sales lead, and how's that benefited you?
Well, I think okay, it should be in you as well. I don't believe that you can create a successful salesperson. Of course, you can you can learn some tricks across the board, but in the end, you have to have some certain skills. One of the most important skill, I guess, is being a social person. Yeah, I think I'm a social person. I like to be in touch with other people. Yeah, these social skills are, according to me, one of the most important things to be a successful leader. But the other things is okay, curiosity, the listening to the market's voice, and the desire coming with solutions. And that's I think these are the things that can really be helpful. And it helped me, but it also helped the companies I was working for. And let's say this is also I'm let's say solution driven. If I don't know the answer myself, I'm always going to look somewhere in my extensive network to find a solution somewhere. So yeah, it helps. So let's say a bit of kind of a creative mindset. I think that's also something which is part of it. So yeah, so more or less, these are the most important skills I think you need to possess as a successful sales leader.
Absolutely. Well, we see it ourselves in recruitment. Obviously, relationship building is the number one skill, and the
Yeah,
ability
yeah,
to listen. You know, you need to figure out what people want, and then
yeah,
let them
exactly.
speak, and then can sell back
Yeah,
to exact those things. You know the
yeah,
requirements, and we need to know the
exactly. Yeah,
solutions. So yeah, I think that's really quite, it's an international experience that I think salespeople, like you said, are, they're created, they're not necessarily built. Could you possibly share some like particular sales campaigns that you've been involved in or initiatives that you've led, and what factors kind of contributed to that success?
Oh, well, I remember a case, that's perhaps already 15 years ago. At that time, I was working as an interim sales manager for a certification body. And all of a sudden, they were asking me, okay, Bram, could you help us getting a lot of new customers on board in really a relatively short time? So, in fact, I had 6 months to achieve my goal. And but at that time I was able, thanks to multi-level sales approach, to get about 50% of the market for feed certification in at that time in the Netherlands. So yeah, we used several instruments. A very good website, a very decent prospect database with correct email addresses, quite important, I guess, for a focused email marketing campaign. And further, we used newsletters. We made a lot of telephone calls, and last but not least, I personally visit a lot of, let's say, larger stakeholders at a time, and eventually the biggest chunk of the market signed for us. So yeah, I'm pretty proud on that, and always looking back to this with a big joy.
Perfect, perfect. And yeah, just for the kind of the wider audience and people kind of coming into this market, I think what would you kind of share as a valuable lesson or an insight that's really kind of defined you as a sales leader and you kind of gained through that experience?
Yeah. Oh, well, Marcus, that's of course always a quite difficult question, as it's many times related to certain situations and or uh, personal circumstances, and sometimes generating a typical cliche or open door answer by this. So yeah, anyway, this is the attempt. Well, I think don't change your sales strategy too soon. In some businesses, it takes, very simple, little bit more time to achieve your goal or to get results. So just let's say, I think, stick to your plan, stick to your strategy, and that's the way to get a success. So yeah, so that's according to me the way to go.
Perfect. No, thank you very much. So yeah, just with your current company, GMP Plus, obviously it's one of the world's largest food safety standard. So with GMP Plus, can you possibly discuss any recent developments or expansions or significant milestones that you've achieved by your company recently?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, GMP Plus International was established in 1992, so now 32 years ago, um, because of feed safety issues and the things like I mentioned before, such as these dioxins in feed ingredients, BSC, and other food safety cases. Well, let's say now, after 32 years, we have more than 20,000 companies certified for our feed safety assurance standard, FSA. It's called, in 92 countries worldwide, with the help of 36 certification bodies. Um, we see now a new development, which is that as feed and food safety have become more or less mainstream, so there are hardly any incidents nowadays. We notice that the market, including our own customer base, is embracing sustainability topics such as non-GMO, carbon footprint, animal welfare, and deforestation. Very hot sustainability topics currently. Because of these developments, GMP Plus International has developed some new scopes related to some sustainability topics under our so-called FRA umbrella. And FRA stands for Feed Responsibility Assurance. With these developments, we hope to be future-proof for at least the next 32 years. Yeah, so that's more or less the most important, let's say, developments over the years, and the future developments.
And if you could kind of go back and speak to your 21-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, anyway, it worked for me. I hope it can, but I think also could work for let's say a 21-year-old old. That's also possible. Anyway, I think very important. This is what I always did. I followed my instincts. I followed my heart, and used my brains, and I worked hard. Um, and eventually, I'm sure this will bring always, let's say, success in life, whether it's in your private life, but for sure in your business life. Eventually, by doing so, it gives you energy, and it will even motivate you to go for it. So that's in fact my advice to a 20-year old person. Go for it.
Perfect. I wish I heard that advice when I was 21. But Bram, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. And obviously, we're coming up to Christmas now. What's a book that everybody should have on their bookshelf ready to read this holiday?
Bookshelf. Whoa. Well, I just had in fact, I just had a very nice book. In fact, I'm a bit surprised by your question. In fact, I had a very nice book. I got it last night, but it's in Dutch. It's from a novelist called Adrian van Dis, and he had a very nice book. But honestly, in fact, I can't recall the title, but very nice to read anyway. So especially for Christmas time, I love that. I love to read that. So yeah,
No, perfect. Well, we'll link it below, or you'll find a picture here. So, um, but no, Bram, thank you so much for your time. Been an absolute pleasure. Have a wonderful holidays, and yeah, looking
yeah,
forward to getting you back on the podcast again in the future.
yeah, super. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to get some insights in my personal career in the tech industry, and let's say wish you also a very nice Christmas time, and hope to see each other in the new year. Thank you very much, Marcus.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.